right, everybody. Welcome back to the Purple Podcast. This is episode number 21 now. I guess it is volume 3 of our little, football season here episode. Works, whatever. I don't know how you want to look at it. But yeah, here we are. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a fun one myself. Didn't do too much. I know I spoke last week a bit on it, saying that I might not be out of the house too much this weekend. And, that actually held to be pretty true. We're going to hop into this episode here. We're going to get it moving along. Do have a full slate for you guys. Looking forward to it. But last week talked for 55 minutes. So we'll see where this one gets to. I definitely have more notes this time around, but I think it's going to help maybe streamline the process in terms of, what I'm talking about, what I'm covering. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to try to keep it less than 55 minutes if we can, but we got a lot of things to talk about here. So what I'll do to kind of wrap up or I guess begin these episodes, I'm going to do a little weekend and fun things. So this Friday, not much there. Ended up going to Fire Little Game Night, played the name game on Friday. Saturday, my girlfriend Dana actually left for Buffalo, so had the house to myself, had some friends over, played Xbox, ate some B-dubs, tried out the new sauce. Actually, I think I had it before, so that was my second time having it. Pretty decent. It's a nice little smoky barbecue, similar to the honey barbecue, but like I said, it has a little more smoke to it there. So if you're looking into getting that sauce, you might want to try it out because I think it's limited time only. And sauce is actually playing pretty well in the league right now. I know that was video kind of went viral with him and not Justin Jefferson, but Jamar Chase kind of beefing a bit during the game. But that's athletics. That's how it goes sometimes. I think after the game they were cool. So he's already getting under players' skins who have made a name in the league, I guess, at this point. So good for him. Cincinnati Bearcats alum there. After that, buddies ended up coming over for the Kentucky game, and then I watched No Time to Die later that night. Honestly, was falling asleep during most of it just because it was pretty late in the night. But that finished it. That's the first time I'd seen it. I just got through, I guess, all the recent Daniel Craig 007 movies. I had a point to do that because I had never seen them yet. So, yeah, they were good. Don't love them by any means, but they were good. I would watch them again. And they're fun. There are better ones than others, so there are some really good ones. I think Skyfall is really good, but I'd have to watch them through again because I think that was the only one I had really seen prior, which is a bad look, but whatever. But then into Sunday, not much either that day. Some more Xbox and Xbox friends and football. So pretty good combo there. But yeah, not much else going on. Pretty fun weekend. I hope all y'all had a good time yourself, whatever you got yourself into. But a few other things I want to kind of touch on before we move into our actual football talk of the week. Modern Warfare 2 beta. We did talk about that on the last episode here, and I did play that. I think I was able to play it on Thursday. Hadn't played Call of Duty in a while, so I was, struggling. You know how it goes when you get back on and you just feel slow and you're getting your ass beat. So it wasn't necessarily the most fun, but I guess throughout the weekend kind of came back to me a bit. Got more familiar with the maps and everything, so knew how to play them to some extent, getting used to the game, and was able to put some pretty decent games together and have some fun on it. So things in terms of that, my thoughts on the game so far. Very, very similar to 2019 Modern Warfare in terms of the gunplay, gameplay in general. There's some new graphics, which, I appreciate that. At least they changed that bit up. But it's not a bad thing that it's very similar to that game because I had a really fun time playing the last Modern Warfare. So I think just with some new maps and everything, and we'll talk about maps in a second, but some new maps in terms of what we'll be playing. New guns. I think it'll be pretty fun. New game. I'm excited for it. Comes out the 28th. But in terms of the guns, the Hurricane was very fun. So there were some good guns that I enjoyed. The M4, AK. I don't know if it was the AK-74 necessarily. I didn't, look it up or try to find it. But it's some kind of AK, and it's definitely more submachine gun like. So it's not an assault rifle. So I think it's the AK-74 if we're really looking into the COD lore of it. But that thing was banging. They didn't let you get attachments for it or upgrade anything. They just let you play with it raw. But there was also another class that, did have all the attachments, but I kind of liked it raw better. I don't know what it would have done. Maybe it made it less powerful, but just with no attachments, it was just slapping people with bullets. So that was a really good gun. Sniping question there. I did try out the sniper. I can't see myself doing it. What is that with COD? I feel like they've really gone away from catering to snipers when that was a pretty core element of the game for a while. So I think that's something that I'm kind of on a negative about it in terms of the games, because, maybe it's just because I haven't put the time towards it, but in previous games, I guess the last game I really sniped in was World War II, and it just doesn't feel like it's been a priority since then. And even then, I guess it wasn't necessarily a priority. They weren't making maps specifically for sniping, but I don't know, the mechanics with sniping felt a lot better, a lot snappier and quick, so you were able to compete in those short range battles too with a sniper, and that just isn't the case anymore. And unless you want to just sit down and camp and snipe, I don't think it's going to really be an aspect of the game at all. On the maps, I do like the maps. They only gave us, 4 for standard multiplayer. I think so. They're called Farm 18, Mercado Las Almas, Valderas Museum, which was fun, and then Greenberg Hotel. So I think I liked all of them. Were pretty cool. They were different elements to them. They weren't like your boring ass shipping container crates, which was nice. So I would like to see more of the maps, of course, but early impression, I did enjoy them, and there's bits here and there, and I didn't play well on the Greenberg Hotel. I think that one's it's pretty mazy. There's weird passages and overall kind of confusing in terms of the flow, but I like the setting of it, and I think just playing it more, I'll get used to it more. But one thing I really, really need from this Call of Duty, it's Modern Warfare 2. Recreate some of those fucking OG ass Modern Warfare 2 maps. Don't give me Crash, don't give me Vacant. I've seen those a million times in different games. Give me Estate, give me Afghan, give me Favela. I'm literally looking through at these maps right now. Give me High Rise. I need High Rise. I need Quarry. These maps were awesome. Rundown, Scrapyard, Skid Row, Terminal. We've seen Terminal again on a few games, but not really one that I would ever get old of either. That's just a classic. I love playing that one. Wasteland would be fun. There's a few I'm missing, of course, but give us some of these games. Really bring it back. It's Modern Warfare 2. I don't know what they plan on doing, but shit, I really, really need that from this game. Another note on that game, this is actually the last note, in terms of the lobbies, I think there is something that's going to be brought on where you will now have a higher chance of staying in the same lobby. So you're not automatically refreshing in a new lobby every single time you end a game, which a lot of creators and people out there who are deep in the COD community said that was when a lot of the actual community aspect of it died. Of the game, because I think it stopped after Black Ops 4, I think. So you got to think, there's those times when you're beefing with people, how some people play, and you can make adjustments through certain games. You come back to the chat, you're talking shit, everything like that. You meet friends there. You create enemies who even then can still become your friends. But a lot of the community died with that because you're constantly being shuffled into a new lobby. So there's no sense of, playing the same people for multiple games. It's always a brand new game. So yeah, that's something that'll be cool. I don't know how they're really going to enforce it because a greater chance of doing it. I don't really know. But I think that would be really cool to see in terms of that. But yeah, that'll do it for Call of Duty. That's coming out the 28th of October. I have it pre-ordered. I'm excited for it. Let's get it going. Moving on now to some of the MLB news. Last week we touched on Aaron Judge being at 60 home runs, tying Babe Ruth's record for home runs in a season for Yankees. and he has not got the 61st home run yet. To this point, it's, I think, his longest streak this year of not hitting a home run. So you got to think some of this probably is in his head. The AL record is 61 home runs in a year. So I think he's going to do it. It would really, really suck if he doesn't. But at the same time, he still had an unbelievable season. Like, he's leading every statistic offensively. So he's going to win the Triple Crown, most likely. There's like about 10 games left. So that's crazy. Albert Pujols, legend. I tip my hat to him. I am a Cubs fan, but he hits his 700th home run in LA against, I guess, his former team, not the Angels, but he played for the Dodgers too, against the Dodgers, and goes for 2, hits 2 in the same game, and that's how he gets to 700. Pretty epic. Really can't write a better story than that in terms of how you got your home run, unless you run fucking 697 and you hit 3. But you know what I'm getting at. Hitting 2 home runs to get that 700 home run is pretty awesome. So good for him. Hats off to you, Albert. I'm glad we don't have to face you much any longer. Actually, we're done. So we'll never play Albert again. But that's crazy. Let's go ahead and look at the the standings currently, because we are nearing Wild Card Weekend. It actually starts next week. So there's about 10 games left. Like I said, if we look at the NL here, we have a wild card race. The Braves have already clinched, or the Braves and Mets have already clinched a wild card spot. So that's one that's already spoken for. The Dodgers have clinched the West as well. So it's looking like the Cardinals will probably end up winning the Central. They're at 89 and 65. The Brewers are, battling, trying to get into a wild card spot. They're sitting at 82 and 71. So they're a game and a half behind out of wild card position right now. The Cubs actually have a series with the Phillies, who are that team who is a game and a half ahead of Milwaukee. So if we win, we might actually help out Milwaukee, which, kind of stinks. Don't necessarily want to help Milwaukee out, but that's how it goes. San Francisco is at 75 and 78, so they're 8.5 out. Probably not going to make that comeback. That would be pretty crazy. So right now it's looking like we're going to have the Dodgers, the Mets, and Braves are both in at this point. One of them is going to win the division. The Cardinals, I'm going to say they're probably going to win our division. And then the Padres and Phillies will take those last 2 spots. But it is a battle between Milwaukee. So that's coming. That's how it's coming together in terms of the NL. Let's go up to the AL right now. So the Astros have clinched their division, as well as the Guardians just clinched as well in a terrible AL Central. The Yankees have clinched a wild card, so they're in. So there's 3 spots still to be spoken for. 2 of them, in terms of the wild card, are going to the Blue Jays and the Rays right now. So that AL East was freaking ridiculous. Baltimore is they're 3.5 out of wild card spot right now. So that would be 4 teams making it in from the AL East if they, make that comeback. Not a lot of time left. Seattle sitting at 83 and 69. Baltimore at 80 and 73. The White Sox have, I guess, some hope to some extent. Not really. They're 7.5 out. They would need a lot of losing. Probably not going to happen. So this one's looking like we're going to have Houston, New York, the Yankees, the Cleveland Guardians, the Blue Jays, the Rays, and the Seattle Mariners on the AL side. So that wild card weekend, that starts October 7th, which is actually my birthday. So exciting. Should be a fun weekend of baseball there. Love playoff baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know the Cubs aren't in. That's how it goes. We are 67 and 86. Ended up going 32 and 29 right now over the second half. So a better kind of into the season. We have a series with the Phillies, like I said, and then we'll finish up playing the Reds in Chicago. And I think from a series that got canceled earlier because of, I guess, the lockout, we'll be playing at Cincinnati. I'm actually going to try to go to that game. Tickets were like $4 on Tuesday, and they get like $3 bills, $3 beers, $2 hot dogs, and like $1 ice cream. So may go up to that 6:40 game on October 4th to see the Cubbies take on the Reds. I don't know who's going to be, traveling. The roster or the team could look pretty bad, the lineup at that day, just because, it's not exactly that important at this point. The season is over. But looking forward to this offseason, I think the team has a lot of chance, a lot of possibility, a lot of young guys. I mean, you saw that team. We went 32-29 over the second half. That's that's playoff baseball to some extent. Like if you multiplied that over, of course, we have to stay consistent and continue winning those games. But I think we have the ability. I think we get better next year. I think that's undeniable. The Brewers honestly haven't looked great. You got to think the Cardinals are probably going to be competing in our division, with us for a while. I think that's going to be the main player in our division for a while here, just in terms of they have Nolan Arenado. I mean, I guess Goldie's getting old. Molina's old, Pujols, but that team, Tommy Edman's good. So all the way around, that's going to be a good team for some time to come. I think we'll be competing with them. The Brewers I think they're getting worse, really. We'll see what talent they bring in. Of course, there's always the offseason, but we'll see. I think the Cubs intend to go pretty big this offseason here. Carlos Correa, we've mentioned him. Trey Turner's in talks. All rumors, of course, but yeah, looking forward to it. Still will have a while away for that next season, but playoff baseball coming up. Excited for that. Other things coming up. Hockey's back. I do intend to cover the Blackhawks some or follow them. Maybe not cover them necessarily, but I'll give you a Blackhawks update every single, whenever I'm doing these, I guess. I can go ahead and look at it. So, I've never really gotten too into hockey because there's not really a super accessible way for me to watch a game, and I don't really care to watch random games as much. I would like to watch and follow a team, but I don't know if I'm going to be spending money on whatever it is, like NHL Pass or whatever. But hockey's back, and like I said, intend to look and follow the Blackhawks a bit. NBA basketball is going to be back on October 19th. So the Bulls, I need to do a little better with them as well. Following, I would consider getting an NBA Game Pass. We'll see. College basketball will be back November 7th, and then the World Cup in Qatar will be November 20th. So a lot of sports coming up. Like I said, looking forward to it. Now we'll start getting over into our football side of things. Fantasy football woes for your boy here. 0-3 in both leagues. Neither team scored 100 points this week. I mean, I didn't even have a bad week. Like Jared Goff, I said I got the goofball. He came in 14.88. Sure, I'll take it. Kareem Hunt, 9.10. Not amazing, but man, that's okay. Josh Jacobs, 13.7. I'll take that. Cooper Kupp, 16.4. Tyreek, 5.3. Tyler Higbee, 10.10. Cortland Sutton, 17.7. Tyler Bass, 4. Tampa Bay defense, 8. So, I mean, no one played horrible. Tyreek, tough day, but I mean, it's just how it comes. Came out to 99 points, so we were right on the edge. Basically, so far, I've had the most points scored against me in both leagues, which contributes, of course, to me being 0-3. Bad week for the team. I've had pretty decent weeks prior to this, so we'll see. Not a lot to do. I think Russell Wilson is out for me as the other quarterback, so we'll see who we want to pick up there. Maybe we go goofball in 2 leagues and just keep it rolling. But fantasy football, I might be doing the milk mile this year. Now let's do it. Let's get into college football. Let me take a sip. I do have a glass of wine with me tonight, so those of you who are longtime Purple Podcast listeners, you know the deal. We'll go ahead and do a little clinky here. I do not have anyone with me, but that's okay. I love you all. Clinkies. Yummy. All right. NCAA football. Actually, yeah. Brief note here that I'm seeing before I get into college football. We got to touch on some high school football. Congrats to Coach Mikey. He's been on this podcast before. He coaches at our alma mater, St. Xavier High School. They win for the second year in a row against Trinity, which I think is the first time since the 04 and 05 seasons. I believe that's what he told me. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Mike. I tried, but way to go, Tigers. Good for it. I think the score is 13-8. Didn't catch much of it, I actually didn't catch any of it, but did see the score. I was not there. Now we'll move on to college football here. So the Cats, go Cats again. That's what I named this segment. It's Go Cats, ! We are now 4-0. Not the greatest of games by any means. We play Northern Illinois in Kroger Field. We'll do some of the, I guess we'll go for thoughts. This is one way that I've been thinking or kind of changing around my process here. So we'll look at my thoughts on the game, some good and the bad, and then we'll look at the game ahead. But good things: Will Levis, 18 of 26, threw for 303 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. I touched a bit on that last week. I think I was saying he needs to be more careful with the ball. Completion percentage, 18 of 26. I guess you would probably want to see that a little better, but 2 really, really large throws, 69-yard touchdown, a 70-yard touchdown, and no interceptions. Cannot complain about that at all. 303 yards. Tavion Robinson, our receiving corps, so this is another good thing from the game. Tavion Robinson, the transfer from Virginia Tech, 7 receptions, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, has a long of 69 yards, giant play. Barian Brown, the freshman, 4 receptions, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 70 yards. It's crazy because this is like a similar thing to what Tua did last week, and like the wide receiver numbers of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. It's kind of funny. I'm just putting that together, like the 2 touchdowns for each of them, and like over 100 yards receiving. So kind of cool. Back-to-back weeks for both my teams there. But this team, we've seen this Kentucky team. We struggled against Northern Illinois, and that is not an amazing football team by any means. I mean, they're 1-3 now. So us being a minus 4,500 money line favorite, it's not a great look winning 31-23. But there's some things to look at in terms of it. Like our offense is going to keep us in games, I think, if our O-line doesn't absolutely fuck it to hell, which they have the potential to do it. But having players like Tavion Robinson, Barion Brown, who can break a 69-yard touchdown, a 70-yard touchdown, is always going to make you a scary team to play. Reminds me a lot of Tennessee and what they're doing. So that could be a fun game down the road in terms of that. But some bad things, of course, touched on it. O-line gave up 5 sacks, 6 tackles for losses. I don't know if that includes the sacks. Honestly, I need to get better at like what that stat necessarily means there. But 5 sacks, 6 tackle for losses. That's a very bad look for this O-line. It's something that we've prided ourselves on for a while as a team. And this year, early on, it's not the same. We know it. We see it. Can the team overcome it? Can they get better? Because we're not going to be up to the level that we've been at. I think that hope is kind of lost at this point. But they got to get better, especially as we get into some of this deeper SEC play here. Another bad, our D-line had 0 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, only 2 QB hurries. There's just not that is not a great look at all. This is a team, and honestly, I don't even what conference is NIU in? Are they a MACtion team? They're in the Mid-American Conference, so it's just not a great look for our team. We didn't play awful, but there's just some big plays that really hurt. Those sacks, untimely sacks, that's what keeps them in the game. D-line doesn't really get any hurries, just lets them stick around. Cavassier Smoke has his best, I guess, rushing game of the year in terms of yards per carry. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry on 12 attempts, so he had 85 yards. But fumbles the ball twice, loses one of them. That second fumble is late in the first half on our own side of the field. We were just going to run the clock out, basically. Fumbles, allows for a touchdown. It's 14-14 going into half. A good in that is that we came out in the second half, scored a touchdown. I think that one was Tavion Robinson's. I'm not 100% sure which one it was. But then we don't finish. We don't put it on them to end the game. We should have scored again, but just kind of linger out. We score a field goal. I guess we scored another touchdown. So we were up, but then to allow them score 9 points in the fourth quarter and kind of inch back into it and make it interesting. That onside kick was absolutely terrifying. Just a bad look. We caused no turnovers ourselves either. So not our best game, not the most momentum going into this next game against Ole Miss, which is going to be a big one. But hey, we're 4-0. That's all that really matters. So looking ahead to Ole Miss, they are also 4-0. That's a team that's not necessarily tested yet. they haven't played anybody. They played like Tulsa, Georgia Tech. Let's see who else they played here. I thought it had. I pulled it up, but I did not. So they've played Tulsa. They played them last week. They beat them 35-27, so tested in that one high-scoring game. Beat Mississippi State really handedly the week before, 42-0. Played Central Arkansas, beat them 59-3, and Troy 28-10. So there's still question marks with this team. We haven't seen them play really anyone that formidable. This is going to be their biggest test by far. So a lot coming in. We've been tested. We've played in a hostile environment already against a Florida team who, did a lot for what that team stands for, like how people are viewing that team with how they just played since Tennessee. It definitely helps, the way our win against them looks right now. But we're going into Oxford. That's going to be a tough place to play. Ole Miss hasn't necessarily been tested yet in the same way. But just looking at what they've done so far, their offense is ranking 16th in the country in yards per game. Their rushing yard per game, they are the second best rushing team in the country. They're averaging 296.7 yards per game on the ground. So that's going to be a giant test for our D-line. They haven't thrown the ball a ton. They're 105th in passing yards per game. They throw for 184 passing yards per game. So I don't think that's going to be our issue. I don't think that's where we're going to be tested. And that's actually the strongest part of our defense in terms of statistics so far. We're ranked 16th in passing yards allowed per game so far. But in rushing yards, we're 43rd. And with them, putting up close to 300 yards per game on the ground, let's see what we have in the trenches. We have to play good there. We've been tested with a team who runs the ball a lot in Florida. So I think we can do it. I think we can answer the bell. But a lot of times this team starts slow. We just have to see who comes out there. In terms of their defense, they're not great defensively, even though they're allowing the seventh, least amount of points per game. They're averaging giving up 12.3 points per game. I think that is very much, indicative of who they played so far. So I think those numbers might be a little skewed. I don't think we're going to, as long as we can pass, block, well, that's not even true. The biggest test is the trenches, which is scary because that's what you need to be a great team. Is you have to be pretty strong in the trenches. I don't think we've been necessarily too tested yet. That our defense, I think, is going to hold them pretty well. But things like our O-line, questionable. Chris Rodriguez is maybe coming back, so maybe we can get the running game on track because we haven't been running the ball very well either. We're averaging 87.3 rushing yards per game, which is 113th in the country. I mean, that's pathetic. Our offensive numbers actually look terrible, like really, really bad on paper. So let's see. Big game in Oxford. I think we pull it out. I truly do. I think Chris Rodriguez being back, if he's back, I think he is back, is going to be a big, big push for this team in terms of the running game. Because Kavasier Smoke, I think he struggled with having to handle the main spot in terms of being that guy in the running back. I mean, he hasn't really come through. Our O-line isn't great, so there's a lot of things factoring into it. But I think Chris Rodriguez getting back on there, who was like a preseason favorite for a lot of awards, it's going to help. It's going to help, no doubt. So we'll move on past that one. I think the Cats do take that one. I think we come into the next week against South Carolina 5-0. So let's go, baby. Let's get it done. Looking around the country now, I'm going to touch on some of these games. Baylor, number 17, goes into Iowa State. Wins a tough one, 31-24. I did watch a bit of that game. They do, Baylor stays on a winning streak. I think after losing they lose to BYU, I think is who they had lost to. And then I think they beat, was it Auburn they played last week? No, that was Penn State. But Baylor, anyways, 31-24 win over Iowa State. Tough one battle there. Penn State stays winning 4-0. They beat Central Michigan 33-14. one of the best games from the early window and, the early part of this college football season. Clemson, Wake Forest, DJU. I guess he's answered all the questions. This wasn't going to be the game. 371 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get taken out anytime soon, especially because they win that game. That was the biggest question. Is their offense actually? But the defense is the one that struggled in this game. Clemson's cornerbacks got just abused all day long. Wake Forest played a great game, just in the end doesn't get it done. Lose 51-45 in second overtime. So great game there. Really enjoyed watching that one. Kansas, how about them? The Jayhawks, this was not a ranked matchup, but Kansas-Duke, both teams were undefeated. The Blue Bloods there. Kansas brings it out in a bit of a shootout, 35-27. That team can score points. They've been exciting to watch, so that's crazy to see. Georgia takes on Kent State, and they actually get the toughest test of their year so far. They win that one 39-22, and I think a bunch of Georgia players are kind of banged up from that one as well. Who would have thought Kent State going into Athens? I guess they maybe didn't play that many starters. I didn't catch much of that game, but kind of wild look there. Maryland, Michigan. Michigan gets their first test of the year as well. They stay undefeated. They beat Maryland 34-27 in the Big House. Maryland played them really well, so I've bet against Michigan twice in terms of the spread. I've taken the very large spread. They've lost that one. And also I bet on them this week. I think they were minus 17 going into this game, and they lose me money again. So I don't know if I'm going to be betting on Michigan for the rest of the year. Pitt takes down Rhode Island 45-24. Excuse me. Louisville absolutely throttles USF 41-3. Didn't catch much of that game, but every time I did switch over to it from that Clemson-Wake Forest game, it was Louisville scoring. So don't think I missed much there. Continuing on down, Western Kentucky beating FIU 73-0. That's nasty. Tennessee, Florida, absolutely great game. Like I said, really good look for Florida after, a bad performance against USF last week, who, just got throttled by Louisville. But Tennessee does end up winning that game, 38-33. Anthony Richardson threw for 453 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty crazy. Excuse me. And also runs for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Great game from here. Malik Hooker can throw that thing. Malik Hooker, what is his first name? Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker can throw that thing. Hendon Hooker can run that thing. They were talking about, I guess, who is the oldest Heisman winner of all time. So, I guess he might be in consideration for Heisman's after this week, that performance there. App State finally, they lost last week, I think, so not even big news, but they lose to James Madison 32-28. I bet on Michigan State, and they just get bullied by Minnesota 34-7. Notre Dame beats North Carolina 45-32. Middle Tennessee State, how about that? The Blue Raiders. My sister actually plays volleyball for them, so crazy game for them. They go to Hard Rock, they go to Miami, and beat the 25th ranked country in the team in the country, which is pretty crazy. 45-31, Middle Tennessee State. I think they were pretty damn bad last year too. So good win for them. Here's something that's not very surprising. Texas is not back. They lose to Texas Tech in overtime, 37-34. I bet that was a good game. Didn't catch any of it, but that's okay. Oregon beats Washington State in another thriller, 44-41. Didn't catch much of that game. I think Oregon came back. Yeah, they scored 29 points in the fourth quarter. So crazy pointage late in the game there to come back. Touched on it earlier. Ole Miss beats Tulsa 35-27. Continuing on down here, Arkansas does suffer their first loss to Texas A&M, who looks to be back on some kind of track following that loss to App State. They win 23-21. They played that one in Arlington, actually. So I bet they still give Alabama, Arkansas game day, even though no one gives a shit about Arkansas anymore because they've already lost a game. Do we really think they're going to do anything bigger than, they could win, like they could be in a New Year's Six bowl, of course, but they're not winning the division, or they're not, I don't think they're a playoff hopeful anymore at that point. I think they would have had to been in the championship game undefeated to still be considered of it, and they still have to beat Alabama at that point. Continuing down here to the bottom. Sorry, I'm having a stroke. NC State destroys UConn 41-10. Alabama beats Vanderbilt 55-3. Ohio State does it to that. Maybe the Big Ten is just really bad. Those other, like Wisconsin. Is Nebraska even in the Big Ten anymore? Or are they a Big 12 team? I swear they were Big 10, but they might be Big 12 now. Anyways, Ohio State destroys Wisconsin 52-21. I'm probably going to keep riding the Buckeyes. They're pretty good against those spreads. Continuing on, Oklahoma suffers their first loss to Kansas State. That one sucked. Bet on that too. USC barely beats Oregon State 17-14. Who would have thought it was going to be such a low-scoring game there? But they stay winning 4-0. BYU beats Wyoming. Washington beats Stanford. Well, BYU beat them 38-24. Washington beats Stanford 40-22. Utah beats Arizona State 34-13. Syracuse stays undefeated, beats Virginia 22-20. And that does it for anything that's really that important at all. We'll hop over now, look at the rankings currently. So Georgia still sits at first, Bama second, Ohio State third, Michigan fourth, Clemson fifth. USC jumps into sixth, Kentucky moves up to seventh, Tennessee moves up 3 spots into eighth. OK State remains the same at ninth, NC State up 2 into 10th place now. Penn State is at 11, moving up 3 from 14. Utah up 1 to 12 from 13. Oregon moves up 2 spots to 13. Ole Miss up 2 spots to 14. Washington up 3 spots to 15. Baylor up 1 to 16. A&M jumps 6 spots up to 17. Oklahoma falls back 12 to 18. BYU remains the same at 19. Here 20 is Arkansas, going back 10 spots with the loss to A&M. Minnesota, who is not ranked, moves into 21st. Wake Forest goes back 1 spot with the loss. I think that's pretty deserving. But honestly, they probably shouldn't even have been 21st. That was a pretty good look for them playing that game. They looked really good offensively. Of course, you don't want to give up 51 points, but that's how it goes sometimes. But they're at 22nd now. Florida State moves into 23rd from not being ranked. They are 4-0. Pittsburgh moves to... they remain the same at 24th. Kansas State moves into 25th place from being not ranked. So that wraps up basically our rankings here. Good to see the Cats that high. I think it's the highest we've been in. Honestly, I don't know when. I don't think we have since an AP poll has been a thing or something, to be honest. So cool to see that, no doubt. Moving on to the next week, guys. Let's keep it moving. We're at 38 minutes right now, so it's looking like we're probably going to push an hour. I'm going to be honest, but we're going to keep doing it. I'm going to take another sip here. My throat is getting itchy, but, let's go, guys. All right. Scrolling down through here, we got Washington, number 15, playing at UCLA. UCLA, a +3 dog here. I like that Washington team. I haven't seen UCLA, but they're 4-0. Quick pick. Let's take Washington going into the Rose Bowl and winning. Louisville is a -15.5 favorite against Boston College. Honestly, let's take Louisville. I won't be a hater. Michigan, Iowa. Michigan is a +10.5 dog here. I think I would take Michigan. Yeah, I think I'd take Michigan. Iowa just does not have offense at all. Oklahoma, TCU. That TCU team's pretty good. Can Oklahoma lose 2 games in a row? To be seen. It is at TCU. Let's take TCU +6.5. Minnesota, number 21, taking on Purdue. They're -12.5. Let's take Minnesota there. Kansas State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is 3-1, not ranked. Kansas State, they are at 25th. They're 3-1. They're actually -8. I'm gonna take Texas Tech. Let's do it. Let's keep riding them. Kentucky, Ole Miss. I'm taking the Cats. We're +6.5. Let's take the Cats all damn day. Utah, Oregon State. Utah is -10.5 against Oregon State, and Oregon State just played USC really well. I think they can stay in that game, but I think Utah and USC are pretty different. I think Utah is pretty strong. Minus 10.5. Let's take Utah. They did just lose that game. Let's take Utah. Penn State minus 26.5 against Northwestern. Not very interesting. Sure, I'll take you Penn State. Baylor, Oklahoma State. This is a fun one. Baylor is now a minus 2.5 favorite in that game. Haven't seen Oklahoma State play. At Baylor, let's take OK State there. Ohio State, they don't even have any lines up for that. They're going to destroy Rutgers, I'm sure. We'll see, but pretty sure. Wake Forest, Florida State. Florida State is actually a minus 6.5 favorite in this game. I guess their quarterback's playing well. I haven't checked on their quarterback situation since the Louisville game. So let's take Wake Forest. I think they played really well, but that might have spent a lot there. So, you know what? Actually, let's take Florida. No, let's take Wake Forest. 6.5 is a lot. A&M, they are dogs at Mississippi State, minus 3.5. Mississippi State. I'm going to take A&M there. Clemson, NC State. This might be an ACC championship game to be seen. Clemson is minus 6.5. I'm gonna take NC State. Let's do it. NC State. Florida or Georgia, Missouri. Missouri is plus 28. I'm gonna take Georgia minus 28 in that one. USC minus 26 against Arizona State. Yeah, let's take USC. And then Oregon and Stanford. Oregon is minus 17. I'll take Oregon minus 17 there. So I'll do college football. Don't take my picks, honestly, because I'm terrible at betting. But these also aren't necessarily my picks. I think I've made that clear. I'm not doing a lot of research in terms of these. I'm just kind of going through them, making quick picks, and, we'll see what hits. But now, on to, I guess, another main event here. The Miami Dolphins, baby. We're moving into NFL football. The Miami Dolphins, we are now 3-0 on the year with a win against the Buffalo Bills, who many still believe are the best team in the NFL, probably including myself. But the thing is, when it comes to one game, anything can happen. And what I mean by anything can happen is you can have 90 plays ran against your defense. You can give up 497 yards. You can only have 212 yards yourself, and you can win that game. And that's really what we did there. So some just good things about this game. Tua looked good, had that kind of terrifying injury. I thought it was over. I saw that happen, and I was like, okay. It was fun while it lasted because we were playing in the game. We were getting to Josh Allen, roughing him up a bit. Kind of just getting him a little off the mark. I mean, he still had 400 passing yards, but, we could tell we had him flustered a bit here and there because at the end of the day, they did only score 17 points offensively somehow or another. But Tua was 13 for 18, 186 yards with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Not a lot on paper. Of course, he missed a bit of the game, but while he was in, looked really good, made good throws. That pass to Craycraft, now 2 touchdowns on the year for Craycraft, was just a dart. That throw to Jalen Waddle on 3rd and 22 is just one of the most insane throws I've seen from Tua in his time so far. Loved that. It's such a big moment in the game. Of course, it got very scary towards the end there. The butt punt, everyone is talking about it. But you just gotta love the way this team fought, found the way to get it done. This is 2 weeks in a row where that's kind of been the message. It's like we are getting lit up on defense at this point. If you look at our statistical numbers in terms of our defensive ranking, they're a little exaggerated. These are. You would think it'll probably come back to the medium at some point, but we're going to play a good Bengals offense on Thursday. But just overall, love seeing that win, especially against the Bills. Hadn't beat them in, I guess, 6 games now. We hold them to 17 points. Ended up winning 21-19. The bad aspect of this game, they basically beat us in every aspect of the game, aside from the final score. So we found a way to do it, and that's what good teams do. So I'll take it one way or the other. Big game on Thursday. Hopefully Tua can play. That would really, really stink if he can't. He's still suffering that kind of lower back injury of all things. It looked like he hit his head and was concussed as hell, but it was just the lower back things. He was tightened up. He was on the sidelines. I heard him saying, he was on his sidelines for so long he really couldn't, stretch it out. Because they were playing offense for most of the game, but we held them out. Moving ahead to this Bengals team, who is 1-2 so far, haven't looked at the best exactly. Of course, on that everyone's been talking about the hangover, the Super Bowl hangover. So they lose to, they first lose to the Steelers, and then they also lose to the Cowboys. Those are two pretty decent defenses, so there's an aspect of that, and they're a good offense who hasn't performed as well. Joe Burrow got a bit back on track this week when they beat the Jets. He threw for 275, 3 touchdowns. That offense is scary. There's no doubt. And as a defense who's ranked, 31st in total yards per game, passing yards per game, 31st, it's not a great look. We're a bend don't break team, so we're still only allowing the 16th most. So that's not great, of course, because that Ravens game. So there's a lot of things we need to work on defensively. We need to still keep people out of the end zone, which we've been doing. And the offense also needs to show up. The rushing game has also been horrible. We're ranked 31st in rushing at 64 yards per game. And funny enough, the Bengals offense is actually not the best part of this team so far. Their defense is ranking top 10 in basically in every major statistical category in their defense. So total yards per game, they're ranked 8th. Rushing yards per game, 8th. Passing yards, 14th. Points per game, 9th. So the defensive battle is going to be a big one. So I would love to see our offense at full power against them in terms of, what their defense has done. We've played good defenses already, but that Bills team was beaten up in the secondary. We didn't necessarily put up a ton of points, but part of that contributing to his injury. So we didn't play part of that game. And just overall the Bills and they're still a damn good team. But this Bengals team has a good defense. They have a good offense. It's on Thursday night, so it's a little wonky in itself already. That's just how those games typically are. So we'll see. I'm going to take my boys, of course. I really, really hope Tua plays. If he doesn't, I'm still going to take my boys. I never can't. But we'll have Teddy. Not the most assuring thing, considering his, his one drive that we did see him on Sunday. Basically, 2 incompletions and a run, I think, 3 and out, just like that. Or he took a sack. Just a bad look, so I hope it isn't Teddy. If it is, that's okay. I think we still can win with him. I think we'll see better play than what he had, gave for that, one possession, of course. But a stout Bengals defense in Cincinnati. We'll see how it goes. Go Fins. We'll move on to, the rest of the league now. Looking around the league, to end the week, the Cowboys end up beating the Giants on Monday Night Football, 23-16. Cooper Rush wins again. He's 3-0 to start a season. CeeDee Lamb, who I've been openly critical of, and I was last night as well. After he dropped that wide open touchdown, I love doing it. Basically, what I'm on record saying is that he'll never be a star. He made a star play, and he can make star plays. He has that ability. He does. So he hasn't necessarily became that star yet in terms of actual production. Their other wide receivers actually been outperforming him for the season so far. Maybe that's because he's taken the looks away, but also, they have Cooper Rush, so there's contributing factors, but I'm gonna stick by it. Because he doesn't have the best hands, even though he'll make an insane play here and there. Ravens Patriots. The Ravens win 37-26. Mac Jones gets hurt and is in a lot of pain, very visibly. He looks like a little crying boy. You know what? I don't mean that. I'm sorry. I apologize there. I don't want to be mean about an injury. But he did not look good in terms of his, facial expressions there. Devontae Parker in that game, 5 receptions, 156 yards. So that's a Louisville native. Played for the Dolphins. Good for him to kind of get back on track, get some receptions. So he was averaging 30 yards a reception. So pretty insane there. But Lamar Jackson stays doing his thing, scores 5 total touchdowns. They're going to have to pay him. I mean, he's in the MVP. He's probably the head of the MVP race right now. Actually, no doubt, has to be. Lions, Vikings. The Vikings come back. I had my boy G over here, who's a Vikings fan, watching that one. Really ugly game, but the Vikings do come back with a 14-point fourth quarter to win that one. Bears, Texans. Bears still refuse to throw the ball, or just can't. Maybe that's just Justin Fields just can't throw the ball, but they've been running the ball better than, I guess, the second best rushing team in the league this year so far. They win 23-20 against the Texans. Obviously, beating the Texans isn't the best feat of all time. Colts, Chiefs. The Chiefs, lose that one 17-20. Everything had to go wrong for them, but they still lose that one. That team's going to be fine. But good for the Colts, because you have looked awful this year, 1-1-1. So not the worst start with how bad you've played by any means. Raiders 0-3, lose to the Titans 24-22. Bad look for the Raiders. Bad look for the AFC West, because also the Jaguars, who are a real competitor this year now, look really good. People love that Chargers team. Of course, you got to beat up Justin Herbert with some broken ribs, but the Jaguars win 38-10 in LA, so a really good look. Trevor Lawrence is coming together in terms of a quarterback. He's looking like what he was drafted to be. I really wish Travis Etienne would get a little more carries, a little more yardage for my fantasy team hopes, but whatever. We'll see. It's good to have him on a good team that's winning. That's definitely good for your fantasy players, no doubt. Eagles, who everyone still really, really, really loves, 24-8 beat the Commanders. They haven't beat anyone. They've looked good on paper. Jalen Hurts, they're talking about MVP. I was openly critical of them after, I guess, week 1. But I think I'm going to stand by it. I think that team is going to be good, and I think they have a chance to compete in the NFC. I think they definitely could end up coming out of it. They're a good team, okay? All right, maybe that's a bad place to put it, but I don't know. We need to see them be tested by someone else first. I think a lot of it's been premature. So we'll see. I don't know when we'll see. Actually, I don't know what their next game is. I'm sure we'll cover it in a second here. But the Panthers beat the Saints. Saints looking kind of bad these past few weeks. After who'd they beat? I think they beat the I don't know who they beat, but they lose to Tampa Bay, and they lose to the Panthers this week. Falcons, that team is staying just kind of electrifying for whatever reason. They get their first win, which they deserve. They've been in 2 games already. They go to Seattle. They win 27-23. Still should be playing Desmond, though, and then you would be 3-0. Packers, Buccaneers, 14-12, the all-time stinker. Honestly, the lamest shit ever. So much talk about those two, and then that game was just boring as hell. So, Cardinals, Rams. Rams do win that one 20-12. They haven't looked great on their, Super Bowl secondary run here either. And that Cardinals team, I don't know what people want to believe about them yet either. I mean, they beat the Raiders, but they're 0-3, so what are we even talking about the Raiders either? Sunday night game, man, if it was possible to have a worse game than the Packers-Buccaneers game, I would have never thought. But 49ers, Broncos, Jimmy G and Russell Wilson absolutely sucking their nuts off. Just a horrible display of football. Only defense, which, is a good thing in itself, but when you bet on the 49ers and you just need one touchdown to, kind of lock it away and you end up losing 11-10, I'm not going to be very nice or have kind things to say. Jimmy G with an all-time stinker of a game. Bad interception. Runs out of the back of the end zone. Threw an interception on that play. So got lucky that he actually stepped out of the end zone so it wasn't a pick 6. Fumbles the snap. I mean, just he probably had money on the game if I had to bet, That's the only reason you could play that, just absolutely disgustingly bad. And Russell Wilson, I have no clue what the hell happened to him. Someone stole, like, his soul. I don't know. He does not know how to play football anymore or throw the ball. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the new team. Maybe this coaching change, it really was just a bad, hire. I have no clue. But they look really bad. They win the game 11-10, but are you really that happy about what you saw if you're a Broncos fan other than your defense? Of course not. One more sip. And the Browns beat the Steelers on Thursday night 29-17. I believe that was the Thursday night game. Yeah, it was. And Jacoby Brissett looks a lot better than Mitch Trubisky. Whatever. Pretty ugly teams, those two right now. Moving on to the power rankings here. We're going to run through these quick. We are closing in on an hour. I thought it was going to be long again. Thought I might be able to get out before it, but there's so much stuff, and I just want to talk to you all. So I can't help it. Take it for what it is. Long story or long episode. Break it up into bits. I guess I should have said this earlier, but yeah, Dolphins moving into first place. This is PFT's. Moving into first place from number 6. They said to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And they did, period. I agree there. They have the Eagles at second here. They say the only difference between the Dolphins and Eagles, the Dolphins have beaten 2 great teams. I agree there. Maybe not with their ranking necessarily, but with them being behind us, and that's why they're behind us. Bills fall to third from first. They'll be all right. Packers are at fourth from seventh. They're playing better, I guess, is what they're saying. That Packers team hasn't shown me a ton, but the Rams are in fifth. They haven't necessarily shown me any kind of dominance either. The Chiefs move from second to sixth. That team's still going to be really good. The Buccaneers, I don't know if we really, I'm not doubting Tom Brady. I think he can pull it together, but there's questions. There's murmurings at this point where it's like, oh, is this? I mean, he had a lot of receivers out, of course, so I'm not going to doubt him. I think he can get this team better offensively, so he'll probably figure out a way to get it going again. And that defense is awesome anyways, so I like that positioning there. I think the Packers might be a little too high, even though they won that game. Ravens at 8th. They move up there from 9th. Cowboys in 9th from 10th. Kind of wild in itself. The Bengals are at 10th from 11th. Jaguars from 18th to 11th. I like that Jaguars team more than the Bengals. The Bengals are 1-2 right now, and they're at 10th. I guess that makes sense, but the Titans 1-2. They're at 13th from 13th. They're 1-2 as well. Browns up to 13th from 22nd. The Broncos at 14th from 25th. 49ers from 8th to 15th. Vikings from 23rd to 16th. Giants go from 17th from 21st. Colts at 18. Chargers 19. Patriots 20. Steelers 21. Bears 22. Cardinals 23. Jets 24. Panthers 25. Saints 26. Falcons 27. Seahawks 28th. Lions 29th, Washington at 30th, the Raiders at 31st, and the Texans at 32. So that'll do it for the rankings. Let's hop on to these next games. Let's get this thing wrapped up. Let's look at this week ahead. Dolphins against the Bengals, -4 to the Bengals. I'm going to take the boys +4 in that one on Thursday night. Amazon Prime, Jeff Bezos. Funny thing with that, y'all ever think about that? What are these restaurants doing? I haven't gone out to a restaurant on Thursday in a little bit, but are they just like getting an Amazon Prime account to watch these games because they can't watch it another way, or just like NFL Ticket have it? I'm not 100% sure, but question. Anyways, Dolphins take that one +4, no doubt. Easy money. Vikings Saints. Saints are +2.5 favorites. I'm gonna take the Vikings in that, or dogs. I'm going to take the Vikings in that. Bills are -3.5 favorites against the Ravens. I'm going to take the Bills. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. Both those defenses are, banged up. And, we saw what the Dolphins did to the Ravens secondary. So let's see what Josh Allen can do as well. But I think those points go both ways. That's going to be a very exciting game. That's a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Bears, Giants. Giants are a -3 favorite. I'm going to take the Giants there because the Bears still can't throw the ball, and that Giants defense is pretty tough. Browns, Falcons. Falcons are +1.5. Let's take the Falcons, baby. Let's do it. That's in Mercedes. That's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Maybe Marcus Mariota gets sick and can't play for the rest of the year. I don't want to risk an injury on him, but I don't want him to get sick either, I guess. But they would be like probably +10 favorites. Or all right, we're just gonna cut that bit out. Anyways, if they played Desmond, the Falcons would win it by more. That's what I'm getting at. Jaguars, Eagles. Eagles are -6.5 against the Jaguars. Wow, that's supposed to be, I guess, a good game now. Eagles -6.5. Let's take the Jaguars. I'll take the Jaguars +6.5. Chargers, Texans. Texans are +5. Let's take the Chargers -5. Jets, Steelers. Steelers -3.5. I will take. Can I really take Joe Flacco? But can I really take? Let's take the Jets. Unless the Steelers play Kenny Pickett, let's take the Jets. Seahawks, Lions. I'm gonna take the Lions -4.5. Let's go goofball. In Detroit. Titans, Colts. Colts are -3 favorites against the Titans. I think the Titans still beat them. I'll take the Titans +3. Cowboys, Commanders. I'll take the Cowboys -3. Cardinals, Panthers. Panthers are -1.5. I'll take the Cardinals +1.5. I don't believe in that offense at all, honestly. Baker hasn't done much, so even though the Cardinals don't look great either, I'm going to take them +1.5. Raiders, Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos, honestly. The Raiders are 0-3. I'm going to take the Broncos +2.5. Patriots, Packers. Packers -10.5. I'm taking them all day there. Chiefs, Buccaneers. Buccaneers are +2 dogs. We saw the last time the Chiefs and Buccaneers played. Honestly, man, let's bet on Tom Brady. We'll take the Buccaneers +2. 49ers are -2.5 favorites against the Rams. I'm taking the Rams in that one +2.5. So that'll do it. Those are the picks. That is the episode. We are at an hour and 2 minutes. That's what, honestly, I guess that's probably what we're just going to come to expect. These episodes are going to be an hour long. About that, I tried some things in my process here that were a little different than before. Brought in some more stats in terms of talking about, the main games, i.e. the Dolphins and Wildcats games. But that'll about do it. We'll see if there's, a change to it if I want to, move things around. But I'd say let's expect about an hour. That's what allows me to cover for everything, do a little intro that's not necessarily football related and everything like that. And then, just have some fun, talk about some other things. So if I can concise this, maybe I'll work on how I cover like actual, the NCAA wrap up and everything in the NFL one. But this is what it is for now. We're 3 in. I appreciate y'all for listening. Take care of yourselves. Have a happy rest of your week, I guess, is what I'm getting at there. And I wish your teams the best, unless you're a Bengals fan or an Ole Miss fan. But love you all. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, probably not Thursday, but Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, I'll probably get another one on out to you. So, thank you for listening. Signing off. This is Austin Eisert, Purple Podcast, episode 21.